Thanks for coming back / coming to the Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed the film. It was really fun seeing all your reactions in the chat. I'm Lizzie, if you don't know me. I wrote and directed and kind of like half produced the film. And I'm here with some of my cast and crew. Do you guys want to say hi?
Hello.
Hello.
Do you want to say who you are and what you did?
I'm waiting for you.
Hello guys, I'm Joel. I produced this film with underneath Lizzie. So yeah, it was really fun. We had a very short amount of time to film this, only a couple of days, and we actually slept over in the caravan, ate, drank in the caravan, did everything in the caravan for that weekend. So yeah, it was quite an intense shoot, but it was really fun.
It was really fun. I'm Charlie. I play Cass. I obviously look a little bit different now, longer hair, green strips. Whoop. Thanks for all joining. Yeah, it was a really, really fun shoot. One of the best I've ever worked on, seriously. These guys are so professional, and you all know it.
We tried our best. It was difficult in the short space to be professional sometimes, but we did our best. Yeah, basically, so the location sort of came about, like why we were all crammed into the caravan was because I have to give a shout out to my mum and Brian, who lent us the caravan. So I'd basically been writing this short about that I wanted to do about tensions in a small space with friends, and it was going to be it was going to have like all these fun smoking metaphors and stuff was how it started, and then I eventually sort of thought, like, I'll put it in the caravan because I know that my mum has one, so that was why we wrote it for this small location. But then Lou asked, was it hard shooting in such a small space? Yes. We have a lot of compromising pictures of our cinematographer Charlie, who will hopefully be joining us later, crammed into the little toilet and all sorts of spaces, trying to get the shots with the big ass Aria mirror camera, all the big lenses on it. So yeah, it was difficult, and we did also sleep in the caravan, as John pointed out. So yeah, and yeah, my brother said, did you smoke in Mum's caravan? Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, Mum. We did smoke in the caravan. How did you guys find shooting in the space? Like, producing to get there and to get to the small space was difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It was in a part of the country. I don't know if anyone watching this stream already knows, but it's the GPS basically cuts off as soon as you kind of get within an hour's radius of the site, so that posed a few issues. The editing took
fucking months,
depending on how you look at it, a year.
Yeah, to be honest, like, so we finished shooting in August. This was filmed last August, and then we'd initially planned to have it done a lot sooner than it was, but basically our amazing editor Charles is so amazing that he was editing absolutely everybody's films for our entire sort of cohort of like other film people that he knows. So he was doing like a million projects, and also then, you know, Corona, he couldn't access the editing suite and stuff like that, and so we had to remotely bring on, well, we were lucky enough to remotely bring on a sound engineer and a colorist who did an amazing job making the caravan look good. Again, somebody said the cinematography looked really good and the caravan looked good. That's like all down to Charlie and Nielsan, who did the coloring. It was just amazing. What was your
and Kieran, our AC Kieran
yeah,
as well.
I have to shout out Kieran, legend. Yeah, that was another benefit of the small spaces thing, because particularly when it came to all the handheld work in the outside the caravan in the big argument scene, that was all handheld, so the girls had the blocking of going up and down that grass verge, and the camera was handheld, like tracking them, so we had an assistant to basically stop Charlie falling over, and then this Charlie was left to fend for herself on whether she fell over or not. Did you have to make any big changes to the film doing shooting or editing? No. Comes from having a good producer. we pretty much, it's pretty much like how we expected it to be.
We had a couple of issues with the editing, with just maybe the pace, or just looking at especially the scene in the toilet when Charlie's character kind of kisses Lucie's character as almost a kind of distraction or misinformation. That scene we were kind of to and froing with to try and make sure it was clear and it kind of panned out the way we wanted it to. But in terms of actually changes to the script and anything like that, we kind of stuck to our guns for the most part, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that scene was pretty hard to edit because I think the shot that we ended up using in the film, I think it might be the first take that was a rehearsal take that we were secretly rolling on. I think it's that one, and we debated whether we should cut into a close-up of the bruising on her wrist or of her cigarettes like changing hands, but we ended up just rolling it on the one take because it felt like the most natural, like performance-wise, and it was weird to cut away from it. So that was one thing that we like struggled in, or not struggled, but like took a while in the editing. But yeah, as you say, like we pretty much stuck to it. Like it was very much like organized and planned. Like we had a big long list of everything that was going in each car to drive up to Wales and everything. So yeah. Was it more difficult to direct the quieter or more obviously emotional scenes? Ooh, I don't know. How did you find it, Charlie?
So the quieter scenes and the more tense scenes.
Yeah, well, the question was which was it more difficult to direct. I found the most difficult to direct stuff is the kind of intimate stuff I found, because that was one thing I hadn't done, was doing like the kissing stuff before, and I obviously like there's an extra layer of making sure everyone's comfortable with physical stuff. And then obviously like the argument scene, like there was a point where we got a bit emotional and we were like, okay, let's just take a break, but then also we have to roll because I want to capture it if you're crying. so it's like the balance of looking after everybody, but also like if you've pushed somebody to the emotional place that they need to be for the scene, then that's where they need to be. I don't know, what did you find most difficult to do?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's the second scene of the film. It's like the quiet scene where the girls are playing Bananagrams. Even though that's such simplistic-ish scene, if you like, it was the first scene that we all like shot. So I'm guessing not just me, we all felt nervous at that point. So it was a bit like, are we doing this right? Is this okay? But I think one of the most difficult scenes was the scene at the end where it all broke loose. It was fun to do, but I remember we all said, if you want to try a different emotion, please do. So I got the tear works out, and I remember someone saying cut, and I just could not stop crying for like 10 minutes. I was like, wait, okay, I got this. It just like came over me, and I was like, whoa.
And I'm probably thinking, why did I fucking cut? We've got waterworks, everybody roll up. Yeah, I think as well the bit where we did the kiss in the bathroom was pretty difficult as well, because we did like that. Somebody was asking about the rehearsal schedule. We didn't like have time to do like full rehearsals of every scene the day before, because we got to the caravan the evening before we were due to start shooting. So the first night we stayed up very late doing a planning meeting, and then I stayed up talking to the girls about the characters and stuff. So like we had talked everything through, and then before each scene we would like run the scene through. But that was one scene in particular where I made you guys like do different stuff in the bathroom. So that was like, I knew that was going to be a more difficult bit. I think what we did in the end was I was like, do like say what your character would say if you didn't kiss her. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. You were really what's the word? I can't think of the word. Really good with you knew what you wanted, but you also gave us space to experiment as well, and that was really, really good.
Yeah, because I think like I prefer to like build it with you guys. Like obviously especially when you write the script yourself, Molly was asking about the writing process. Like when you write it yourself and you come to direct it, you obviously have such a firm vision of not just the shots, but like what you expect to see on the characters' faces, because when you're sort of writing the screenplay, that's what you'll imagine to write down. But obviously, like this is such a character like piece, there's no point being dictatory about what emotions you're gonna possibly feel. And like, you know, when you guys did that bit in the bathroom where you're kind of talking about like what, you know, what the characters are really feeling in that moment, like knowing what you guys would say then helps, like then changes your performance, and that's something that I couldn't have come up with, or if I had, it would be different to what you guys came up with yourselves. So yeah.
What were your favourite parts? What was your favourite bit to film?
Ooh, I don't know. I really like doing the smoking scene, even though I felt really bad for poor Charlie, because some of the shots we had in that scene that we had to cut were really beautiful. And I really liked doing the like ending, because it was the last thing we shot. It did feel like really cathartic that we'd kind of put you guys through the mill, and then on the last day you got to have your nice happy ending. So that was nice. I don't know, what were your favourite bits to film?
My favourite was probably the final scene on the exterior of the caravan, because we were ahead of schedule, so I wasn't stressing when we were filming.
Yeah.
This guy is telling us, oh, you need to hurry up the whole way through the filming schedule, and then we get there and I think we might have wrapped, but you don't want to call it too early, so I'm checking around making sure we've got everything. Have we wrapped? How come it's 3 hours ahead of where we're supposed to be? And Joel's like, yeah, we're 3 hours early. Just didn't tell us.
I think what the favorite scene that I found great to film was, it was one of the most difficult as well. I agree, it was the last scene outside, because unlike any other scene we filmed, not only did we have to like be careful of our emotions, be in the zone, the cameras were moving so much around us, and I'm pretty sure I accidentally knocked into the cameraman once, and I was like, oh. So it was like a challenge, and I liked that. That was pretty fun.
And there's so many wires on the floor as well. Like,
yeah,
very dangerous business. Sorry, I'm gonna try and go through the questions in the order that people asked them.
Yeah,
Molly...
we've got the next one's kind of from Molly T about the blocking. Did you write the dialogue and then block it afterwards, or was the blocking always kind of in mind?
So the dialogue is usually the first thing that I write, just because I tend to kind of like, that's what I'll kind of like hear and get the idea from. But obviously like fairly early on, like by the time I was showing Joel drafts and getting feedback and developing it, I knew that we were going to be filming in this caravan. So I did have certain blocking in mind, like for example the bit when they run in the bathroom, that's written in the script, because then the bathroom is like a different scene, and the bit outside where it's like we're leaving, no, we're coming back to the step, that was in the script. And the bit with the step I think I wrote in, but I think again, like it depends, because once we got there, like I'd not met the cast before we got in the car to drive there, so meeting Lucie and realising that she's really small, I was like, great, we're having her on the steps. So things do change when you get to the set. And obviously like when we sort of rehearse with the actors before each take, like they might show you some different blocking that you hadn't thought of. But in terms of like movement, like I think I had like printed diagrams of the characters and had drawn out like approximately where they were going to go, so that we could draw where we were going to position the camera and stuff like that. Helps with the planning, doesn't it?
We've got one about the words the Bananagrams set up.
Oh yeah, do they have meaning? Well, everything is meant. The text is the text, read what you will. But yeah, like we did set up the game on the table, so we were kind of like, we were putting words that fit, but then we also put words that are kind of, you know, maybe you can read into them if you like. Did you film chronologically? We approximately did. It's very rare for films to be shot completely chronologically, but because we had the location like all to ourselves and it was one location, that we were lucky with the weather as well. If it had rained, we would have been screwed. But we didn't shoot completely in order, but we did the final scene the last day, and I also did we shot the like all of the stuff where they're talking in the caravan before we did the kiss. So I think we did the first shot where they get out of the car like first thing in the morning, and I remember because Lucie thought that it was call time 8 a.m. and it was 7 a.m. and she was flapping and the sun was coming up and Charlie was flapping, and then and then we did some of the inside ones like the Bananagrams at the table and when they first arrive. Yeah, Charlie was right, we did the Bananagrams thing first, and then I made sure that we did like the kiss stuff after, because I wanted the girls to have like had a day on set before we did the difficult stuff, and also have had the build up like the characters do. It's more method if they've had the whole argument, and then film that, and then we shot all the outside stuff like the final argument scene the second day. So yeah, how was your experience scheduling it and stuff, Joel?
Yeah, well, like you said, because it was all in one location and because we had kind of a couple of days to do everything, it did make sense to do it chronologically. I think for us the difficulty really was coverage. We wanted to get as much coverage as possible, so we were having kind of a lot of discussions on set and after each day just about which coverage do we really need, which coverage could we get away with not having. And I think that was really key in being able to shoot kind of whichever scene we wanted next, was because we had those discussions about coverage and we were always kind of on point with exactly what we needed. And I think, yeah, so we weren't limited within the time constraints, but we did kind of cut a little bit, kept trimming it down in the edit.
Yeah, and we trimmed the script a lot as well. Like I think it was longer when I initially wrote it. I think there was a scene at night where one of them came in to I'm assuming it was Nat, because that's what she's like, comes in to ask, do you need an extra blanket and all of that. There was like that was at the very beginning, there was a nighttime scene like that, and we ended up cutting that because we just streamlined it down to be stuff that we could more feasibly shoot, and as well so that the film wouldn't be like 12 minutes long. And you know, it's lucky we did, because obviously we finished early, but had we had another scene we wouldn't have, and everybody needed to drive home and get on trains and stuff like that. So we were only limited in terms of what we wanted to be able to do well, rather than doing a rubbish job at a 12-minute film. Somebody asked, where'd you get the lovely fleeces from? It was my mum. And also some of them were mine. But yeah, it was like a bring your own situation. I had a PowerPoint all full of pictures of different fleeces, of like which fleece we were going to have for which scene. So, you know. How did you do the casting? I don't know. Do you want to talk about, how was your experience on the other side of it, Charlie? I can't remember where I found you.
I remember I think seeing some sort of Facebook post. I think it was you personally who posted it, and I remember reading. I was like, "Oh, Natalie, she seems cool." Cass, oh, she's a bit of a troublemaker. She has a few troubles, and I'm like, "That's me. I'm going. I'm auditioning. That's just me, straight up." So I was like, "Okay." And then I remember emailing you, and straight away, pretty much almost, you said, "Okay, here's the audition process." And what I found interesting was, it wasn't like you didn't give us a script from the movie or the film. You gave us questions that we had to improvise and be in character with, and I was like, that's a challenge. I like that. So I remember just trying to be Cass for a second. I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I found that really interesting. It was much more, because it's such a duologue, I thought it's really hard to do a script read not opposite somebody. And then I also think, like, getting you guys to do the improvisation, like, you came up with such, like, it forces you to, like, understand the character, doesn't it? So it's, like, much more, it's more to ask, but I think it gets more out of the actors. But I think it might have been the, like, local, it was at, like, Wales Film and TV Facebook page or something like that, because again, like, we had to consider that we had to get the cast to the location, which is pretty rural, so we knew we couldn't get them there anywhere except in a car. So yeah, but again, like, we just really lucked out. And I think doing that process probably helped find the best people. Oh, this is a good one. Was the phrase heart and lungs a starting point for the script or something that came up in writing the dialogue? This, actually, full credit has to go to our AC, Kieran Coyne, for that one. Because we, throughout the whole process, like, did not know what to call this shoot, because I'd first written it at the very first draft before I knew I was going to shoot it. It was going to be that it was raining, and the reason they were stuck in a caravan was because it was too wet and they couldn't drive on the roads. So it was originally called, like, Drought or Pray for Drought or something like that, because it was raining. But obviously you need a huge rain machine to accomplish that, and we didn't have the budget for a rain machine. Joel said no rain machine. So we changed it, and, you know, we had to change it to, like, a sort of another reason. So it's part of the writing process, like, why Natalie was trying to keep Kaz in the caravan. And then it was called Caravan, just through, that was what we were referring to it as, like, the group chat.
Yeah, we just called it Caravan for the longest time, really.
Yeah. And then when we were on set and we were marking up the clapperboard, Joel was like, pick a damn title. And I was like, oh my God, fine, we'll call it Locked In. So that was what it was originally called, like, during the fundraising, because about locking in and stuff, but I never liked it. We all thought it was a dead title. And then while we were shooting the argument scene, and over again, we'd heard Lucie shouting, I care about your heart, I care about your lungs. Kieran was like, why don't you call it Heart and Lungs? And I was like, big brain moment from Kieran. So that was, yeah, it was in the dialogue from the start, but I just had not clocked that it made a much better title until that moment. So yeah. Basil says, how did you choose the location? Because it's my mum's caravan. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, when you have no budget, it's pretty much, oh, let's film in this one location that we all have access to. It's, yeah.
But it's also quite good as a writer, because obviously, like, I'd been writing it in that I wanted to write it being stuck in one location, and then I wrote it in the in a caravan. But it's a kind of, when we knew that it was going to be where we would actually film it, it then forces you to, like, change stuff in the writing, like taking out the rain and stuff like that. And, you know, it forces the characters to, like, be together in a confined space. So it does actually help with the writing process, because if you're writing for a specific location, like, it helps you visualize it, and the limitations that are kind of on you, it's then, as you say, like a challenge to overcome them. But I think, I mean, did you find that it helped, Charlie, in terms of, like, being in character, that you were literally like also stuck in this caravan?
Yeah, no, I did find that help, because obviously these girls were staying in this caravan, and it got very hot during filming, all the time. So I can only imagine what the girls or Cass was going through when Natalie wouldn't let Cass go outside. So it helped. Yeah.
You at the point where you're like, I need a cigarette, let alone this girl. Catherine asked, if you had a bigger budget, what changes would you have liked to make? Oh, the rain machine.
Good question.
I think I would have wanted the rain machine, because in the original there was, like, it kind of had more of a, it was, you know, pathetic fallacy, but it also has, like, more of a reason for Nat to be like, we're not leaving, because, like, if you drive you'll just slip the car. And Cass would be like, I'll drive. She said, no, you'll slip. And it was very much like a safety concern, which is obviously Nat's sort of character thing, is that she doesn't want anything bad to happen to a friend, but to an extreme degree. So that's probably what I would make. Yeah, and exactly, we could have had a kiss in the rain at the end, which would have been
I think the film because it was built with a zero slash micro budget in mind. It's quite hard to think about what you would change.
Yeah.
I think we could have just maybe expanded it a little bit more. Had a bit of a longer script. Some scenes, maybe some different small characters involved. But yeah, not much.
As you say, because it's
I would really change.
Yeah, because it's like very much any budget concerns are taken into account at the script stage. So there wasn't anything that we sort of were missing on set. I mean, if Charlie were here, I'm sure he would say he would have wanted, I don't know, more lights, more scrims, whatever. But we were also really lucky in that we got the kit lent to us by Films 59 Cardiff, who hired it to us. And because they were so nice, like we would not have been able to afford it unless, because of their like generosity. So again, like if you'd had a bigger budget but you had this script, you probably just would have shot it on something else. But at the end of the day, like I think the kit that we were lucky enough to get just really suits the style, because it's, we had the nice vintage lenses and everything. So I think, other than if we'd had a huge budget when we were writing it, I probably wouldn't have written out the rain. But at the same time, because that wasn't there, we were really lucky that it didn't rain, because that would have put a whole like spanner in the works. How many people total were involved in the production? So there was me and Joel, who were the sort of
9.
Yeah, we were like the on the ground producers, and then we had a few more like financial producers backing us. And then we had the 2 girls who were acting, Lucie and Charlie, and then we had Charlie Knight, director of photography, Kieran Coyne, camera assistant. Wait, am I counting? Us 2, them 2, Charlie, Kieran, and then Charles, who edited it, and Nielsan, who did the colour, and Colin, who did the sound. So yeah, 9 was what you just said. Any thoughts on what happens to 2 girls after the caravan? Would you be interested in developing the story beyond this point? No, because I like a happy ending, and I like to think that they just enjoyed the rest of their holiday.
They get married in the caravan.
Yeah, and then they just live in the caravan, and then no, I mean, I suppose like realistically, if you got into that like relationship, I imagine that the dynamic would not change that much in terms of Nat's concern about your smoking. So I imagine that they would probably have some similar arguments, but yeah, I don't know. For me, it was never a question of having the ending be anything sad or ambiguous, just because like giving same-sex couples happy endings is part of the reason that I wanted to do this in the first place. So like to me, that was the perfect ending, I guess. I don't know, what do you think that Cass would be doing?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Yeah, isn't it?
I kind of agree with you. I don't think at that moment they became soulmates. I mean, obviously they are soulmates, but I think Cass probably would have gone home back to her dad afterwards, and then they probably would have had similar arguments, like you said. But I reckon they'll always come back together at some point and work it out. That's how I see it, a mixed up love story kind of vibe.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have?
Obviously, our soulmates.
About the music.
I think,
why did you choose to have no music? I liked it without, and wish more films did this.
I mean, we did spend some time looking at music. I think
we played with the idea of having or like backing track or something, didn't we?
There was I thought about having like a radio on in the game scene, and there was also the possibility of having music like over the more dramatic scenes. But I think that, I mean, first of all, it's really difficult to get really good like custom music made for films, and especially when you're watching it like day in and day out in the edit, there were so many bits that I knew I wanted like to hear it and to have the soundscape rather than to have music. And a lot of the like temp music, the kind of like music that you would use as inspiration if you were going to compose something that I listened to, I was kind of like, well, I like this, but I'm not super convinced. And I think particularly in the argument scene, like, the girls did such a good job, and I think it's so much more visceral without music because it doesn't feel like as cinematic. It feels like you're watching two people argue and cry, which is much more like powerful.
Yeah, it does make sense within the story not to have too much noise going on, because you've got this kind of, for Cass it's this kind of tedious cage almost, and then Burnett it's this peace and quiet and tranquility. So I think it does kind of suit the film not to have music.
Yeah. And we did really work with I really worked with Colin, who did the soundscaping. Like, when we used a lot of recordings that we took in the caravan of stuff like the fridge buzzing and the gas boiler sputtering and stuff like that, and really layered it in to try and make it sound, as you say, like quiet but like claustrophobic, intimate and isolated. And we have like sheep and a babbling brook and all of that when they get out of the car, but once they get into the caravan and the door shuts, it's all like the internal noise and that very sort of dead silence. As you say, I think it makes a lot more sense narratively. I'm just wondering if cameraman Charlie is on the way. If anyone has any technical questions, we can pass them on. But yeah, the soundscape was good. Shout out Colin. It was really good. Otherwise, I think we can maybe
I'm not sure if Charlie will make an appearance.
Okay, maybe we just take a couple more. But, I mean, I think I can answer most of the technical questions, unless they're really, really technical. Yeah, there was a lot of technical debate in terms of like when we were prepping, because I think we weren't sure what we were shooting on. I think we assumed we were going to be shooting on the kit that our university has, which is like, you know, pretty decent. I probably shouldn't be rude about it. But like we weren't sure exactly what we were going to have. And then we ended up, as I say, getting this stuff lent to us from Film 59 Cardiff. So we shot on the Aria Mirror with Panasonic, I believe, vintage lenses.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think they are.
Very expensive. Like, no way would we have ever been able to afford that.
Literally, they're the same lenses that they used on Call Me By Your Name, that 32mm Panasonic vintage lens. So we were pretty much excited as hell to get that stuff. Was it all handheld? No, the scene outside when they're arguing is all handheld. You can kind of see that it's super close and like wobbly. And then the stuff in the bathroom where they kind of, a lot of the tracking stuff, like where the girls were moving up and down the caravan, was handheld just out of necessity. But there's also a lot of static wides, and the way that we kind of decided to do it was that we wanted the opening portion of the film before that big argument and then the bathroom to be very static. So it was a lot of wides and a lot of short-sided, as in like this, close-ups, and a lot of like very like stillness, and then versus once we come out of the bathroom, like everything pretty much goes handheld and it becomes like really jumbly. As you say, that was pretty chaotic to film, Charlie, with you running up and down. So yeah, that was pretty much, that was, I think, one of the hardest parts technically, I think, was probably all the running about. And there was also a shot that we did of the caravan from over the brook, where cameraman Charlie was pretty much stood with this extremely expensive equipment that we couldn't afford, like right next to this brook, and we were all like, don't drop it. Is this film a similar vibe to other projects you all usually do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you, yeah.
For me, yeah. For me, working with an ensemble cast, female cast, doing like queer themes and issues is pretty standard stuff. I'd say like I've done loads, but that's kind of what I like, and I like doing slice of life, intimate, personal stuff. I like doing character stuff. It's just much more fun in terms of working with actors. And obviously it's getting around budget limitations because there's no stunts or anything. But, excuse me. That is.
What about you, Colin?
No, this one was actually completely different to any film I've ever done. Like, that was, I think, not only just my first on-screen kiss, it was my first gay on-screen kiss. So that was something.
We love a first.
Yeah, it was definitely different, definitely challenging. But yeah, no, it's not typically the stuff that I do. But I hope to do more stuff like that in the future.
Well, you did a good job. I didn't realise that was your first on-screen kiss. Kept that quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least you got to spend some time with Lucie first. Which is pretty cute. Can't complain. How is this compared to other stuff you've done, Joel, with Spicy Knife?
It's actually very different. I've only done a handful of projects so far, and this is one of the first ones to come out. But most of the others are kind of a bit more tongue-in-cheek, a little bit more either comedy or action comedy or a music video or something like that. So yeah, it is kind of very different, but it was a very similar crew to who I would usually work with. So that was kind of the main thing for me, really.
Yeah, I think that as well, that really helped us like during the process, because obviously for the cast it's like stepping into a whole new thing with all these new people, and us not having met them before, but we knew each other, and I think that helped us in terms of like scheduling it. Like, we know how long it takes Charlie to put a light up, and you know how long it takes me to talk to actors.
Very long for both of those.
Too long, says the first assistant director. Too long every time. Were there any themes in this project that grew out of your previous projects? I guess not necessarily my previous projects, because this is the first thing that I'd shot that was a romance, but that was something that I had wanted to do for a long time. Like, I did my previous short film that I did like a year before this was called Passionate Necking, and that was two close female friends, and they were sort of talking about some gay issues, but it was like they were friends, it wasn't a romance. So doing this was a bit different, but in terms of like, I think the dynamic between the characters, if caring too much and opting out of caring, and friendship that kind of becomes romance, and you know, when is caring about somebody love, and when is it just caring about somebody, and that kind of stuff was stuff that I had sort of maybe not shot before but written about, a thematic preoccupation of mine, I guess, if you're going to be pretentious about it. So yeah, it was like and the thing of two characters being in a room talking out of necessity, and again out of that being something that I just like to do, was definitely similar to some of my previous stuff.
It was a good kiss. Why, thank you.
Yeah, it was good, to be fair. There were a lot of moments on set where I was like, oh my god, I can't look at this. This is far too intimate. And ironically, it was never the kissing scenes, it was like the hand touching scenes. I'm like, oh my god, averting my eyes. This is too much. This is too sensual. What kind of projects are you interested in working on in the future? Ooh, what do you guys want to do in the future?
Anything really. I'm a bit of a yes man at the moment. It's quite hard to get me to turn down a project. Ones that make money, hopefully. At some point,
producers be like.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What kind of stuff do you like doing, Charlie?
I tend to kind of go with characters that I'm comfortable with, who I can relate to more so, even though I like a challenge. I think if I was to audition for Natalie, I probably would not be here right now, let's just say that. So, but I'm kind of hoping to kind of get more into realistic kind of relationship kind of stuff, instead of like, you know, action, running across the corridor, you know, that's fun, but like I feel like down to earth things about issues, I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be more interesting to do as an actor, because if you're doing action and stuff, like, you have to keep stopping and blocking it, and you don't get to talk so much about what you want as a character. What would I like to do in the future? I want to do more stuff like this, more character stuff, and more, like, again, like you said, like issue stuff, like social stuff. Charlie needs a kick-ass superheroine movie. I apologize. Yes. I definitely, if you have any ideas for that, hit us up. But I also really would like to do period drama. That's something that we can't do without money. But I've definitely written some, and would like to do that. But to be honest, like, I see, like, the projects that I kind of want to do as projects that, like, have a purpose in being made, other than a sort of self-aggrandized, like, the director wants to make it, so they've raised the money and it's happening. Like, with this film, I'm not trying to say it's going to change lives, but yeah, you know, it's about something. And as I say, I want to give these girls happy endings, like you were saying. It was nice watching the chat and everybody going, oh, I really want these girls to have a happy ending, and, you know, knowing that I'm going to give them one, it's very nice to see that. So that's the kind of thing that I would like to do more of, especially in period dramas, because gay characters in period dramas just die and are sad, and I would like them to have happy endings. If anyone has any more questions or anything else to add, that would be nice, but I think we've been here for like 45 minutes, an hour now, so if anyone just has any last things before we go. Issues and big dresses, that's a combo. Yeah, exactly. But I think period dramas that don't try and address the issues are just a waste of time. Like, if you're gonna do, especially set in the UK, if you're gonna do a UK period drama and you're not gonna talk about class, why are you making it? Like, or you're not gonna talk about race or gender or sexuality or whatever. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming. It's really nice to actually be able to do this and have questions. It's really interesting seeing everybody's reactions. You can follow us all on social medias and stuff in the description. Subscribe to the Spicy Knife YouTube channel. You can watch other stuff that Joel has produced. Is Sewer Rats public on there?
It's out this week, so
Ooh,
yeah.
Another premiere?
Potentially, yeah. I think maybe without a Q&A, Indiana's a bit too shy, but
Bless.
yeah, there will be a YouTube premiere as well, so yeah, I guess look out for that.
Subscribe to Spicy Knife to see another film that Joel produced. It's really, really good. And I think, Charlie, your social media is in the description as well, I think. And you can find the film on IMDb, so you can give us a 5-star or 4-star, whatever rating, if you want to give us that. Like and subscribe and all of that jazz, I'm supposed to say. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming and watching. And I think on that note, we'll say thank you and goodbye. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Bye. Okay.